Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Wow. Now I know how all of you feel when you're teaching classes and nobody sits in the first two rows. This is wild for me. I mean, I'm excited to be here. If you told my college professors that Nick Friedman was going to be speaking to a group of distinguished and honored academics and professors, they would have. Is that better? Much better. They would have told you that you were crazy. And so, I had it all planned out. I was going to go to sleep early last night, get a good rest, wake up this morning refreshed, rejuvenated, ready to give you guys a wow keynote speech. But then I started thinking to myself, well, I'm in New Orleans. I might as well go out and see some of the sights, and maybe I'll go check out Bourbon Street. And then I was on Bourbon Street. Who here stepped out to Bourbon Street last night, at least for a pass? Wow. So, talk about an education and entrepreneurship. I mean, they even have their own currency. I really don't want to tell you what I had to do for these beads. But, like most entrepreneurial journeys, while my plan might have not materialized exactly how I laid it out, I'm here today to talk to you guys and share with you my experiences. And really, for me, my story starts with my senior year in college, going into my senior year of college. Which way do I need to point this clicker? There we go. So my story actually begins a lot earlier than my senior year of college, but we're limited on time today, so I'm going to start where a lot of your students are, which is getting ready to graduate either in their junior, going into their senior year of college. And for me, I was always playing the resume game. I was brought up to kind of follow that traditional career path. You study hard, you get into a good college, you get good grades, you get some internships to build your resume, and then you get out of college and you get a secure job. So for me, leading into my senior year of college, the summer beforehand, all I was looking for is what internship can I get to make my resume look great so that I can get a great job after I graduate and make my parents proud. And so I spent my entire junior year applying for these different internships, and I kind of had this realization, I think a realization or maybe even an epiphany that perhaps a lot of your students have when they get that first job out of college. It may not be for everybody, but for me, I was very disillusioned, unfulfilled, and unpassionate with my first corporate work experience, and I truly believed that work sucks. I was not happy with it. I thought there had to be something more. And honestly, I didn't have an entrepreneurship class when I was in college. I honestly didn't even know what an entrepreneur was until we actually started the business, and people would say, oh, so you're entrepreneurs, and I would kind of pause for a minute and say, oh, well, I guess that's what that word means. So I landed the dream internship. I had an internship at the International Monetary Fund in Washington, D.C. It was going to look amazing on my resume. It was going to be huge for me as far as applying for jobs out of college. I was an economics major in undergrad. And the summer before my senior year was spent in there we go. I got to figure this clicker thing out. Was spent in that 6x6 cubicle that you see right there. And so I would, spend my days making copies, filing papers away, as my friends were, working their retail jobs or their fast food jobs or just hanging out, sitting by the pool. But I thought to myself, I'm doing the right thing. I'm working in the internship. I'm building my resume. Meanwhile, my business partner, now my best friend at the time, spent his summer before our senior year of college in this cargo van. Now, he wasn't living in a van down by the river. For those of you that watch Saturday Night Live, you'll get that reference. But he was borrowing his mom's furniture store cargo van to go around town and put flyers in people's mailboxes that said college hunks hauling junk, junk removal, furniture moving, labor, and so forth. And people had an instant reaction to the name. It was a catchy, quirky name. They had a need for the service. And I remember Omar coming back so passionate at the end of the day, so energized about the money he had made, the different junk he had found along the way, the different customers he had interacted with. And that was my really first sort of exposure to somebody actually working for themselves, not for somebody else. And even with that, it never really occurred to us that he was going to start the business on a full scale or that I was going to get involved with it at that time. Then fast forward to our senior year of college, Omar called me and said, hey, I'm writing a business plan for College Hunts Hauling Junk, and I'm going to enter it into this Rothschild entrepreneurship competition. It was through the University of Miami. First prize is $10,000. I think I can at least get top 5, which is $500, because we operated this during the summer. I have some real numbers that I can present to the panel. And sure enough, out of 150 entries, Omar got first prize out of 150 entries and $10,000 check. And everybody says to us, wow, that was the turning point for you. That was when the light bulb went off and said, okay, you're going to start the business. This is where you're going to go. And I think, putting yourselves in the mindset of the college student, you have to remember, when you're in college, you're not thinking about next year. You're thinking about next weekend. And Omar Solomon was a 21-year-old senior in South Beach, Miami, second semester senior, mind you, that was just handed a check for $10,000. And $10,000 doesn't go a whole heck of a long way in South Beach. So the $10,000 actually never saw its way to graduation. And to be perfectly honest with you, we never even, still with the summer of operating and a business plan victory, didn't ever really consider actually starting a business on a full scale. That's how single focus minded we were. We actually looked at the business plan competition as a way to boost our resume. We put it at the top of the resume that when we started applying for jobs, business plan competition winner 2004. And I remember when we graduated from college, we both landed these amazing corporate jobs in Washington, D.C. at consulting firms, back in the cubicle world. And I emailed Omar about 3 months into it. I was miserable. I was unfulfilled. I wasn't happy with what I was doing every day. I said, Omar, there's got to be something else. What's your timeline? Let's take this business plan off the shelf and let's put it into action. Let's turn it into a reality. And he emailed me back, all capital letters, my timeline's right now, exclamation point, let's do this. So we quit our jobs. And you can imagine the look on our parents' faces after they just struggled to pay 4 years of college. We landed these amazing entry-level positions, $50,000 a year salaries that we started out with out of college, with growth opportunity, with opportunities to go back to graduate school. And now we were telling them that we were going to quit our jobs to literally haul trash. And that first summer of hauling trash was exactly like you see here in this comic. We were literally doing everything in the business. We were driving the trucks, hauling the junk, answering the cell phones, sometimes all at the same time. And we joke now, but it happened on multiple occasions where we'd be trying to talk to a customer and take an appointment as we're driving down the freeway, so the truck would be swerving. And people behind us would be calling the 800 number to complain about the erratic driving, but we had the 800 number routed to our cell phone as we were driving the truck. So we would answer the phone and we'd be like, oh yes, we'll be sure to tell our staff to drive more carefully, I apologize. But when you start out, you do whatever you have to do to get the business going, to get it off the ground. And the first lesson that we learned from that experience was ultimately, in order for us to get off of the truck, in order for us to have a second truck or even a third truck or ultimately some franchises, we had to work on the business, not in the business. We had to create systems and processes that would allow us to hire and train somebody to drive the truck, hopefully better than we did, to wear the uniform properly, to interact with the customers, to sell the jobs the way that we were, had at least developed a sales process for our services. And then we had to decide where we were going to go from there. We got off the truck, we hired some employees, we got another truck, we got an office, we moved out of our parents' house where we were operating out of. And so for us, it started with our vision, our long-term image of where the business was going to go into the future. And for us, we didn't want to be two guys on a truck. We didn't want to be even a local junk hauling and moving operation. We leaned into the future 3 to 5 years, and we could see, feel, and touch what the business was going to look like. And it was our vision to build a national brand. We wanted a brand that was going to be celebrated for its unique company culture, for its fun, quirky marketing strategy, for its amazing customer experience. That was the vision that we had laid out for our company. And actually, Rebecca, we actually now have 40 franchises and just finished at $10 million this year. And pursuing that vision has been really the guiding beacon, that light at the end of the tunnel that we've continued to chase after. And in order to do that, we had to have a strategic plan to get there. So every entrepreneur, when they embark on that journey, they have to have the long-term vision, where the business is going to go. That vision has to be emotional and tangible. They have to be able to truly feel what that business is going to look like and feel like when they lean into the future, and then work backwards, reverse engineer the future to the present. what steps are going to be taken from today forth to make that business into a reality. So whether that's the business plan or simply a strategic set of steps that they believe need to be taken to turn that vision into a reality, that's what it took for us. One lesson that we learned in our business was looking at different brands in the same industry. Who here knows the difference between a 7-Eleven cup of coffee and a Starbucks cup of coffee? Yes. Sure. So he said the coffee may be stronger, dark roast. I heard a few people say price. $4, right? About $4 is the difference. Perception, perhaps, of value. So a 7-Eleven cup of coffee is maybe about 75 cents, 99 cents maybe. A Starbucks cup of coffee is $4 on average, give or take, depending on how much whipped cream and caramel you add to it, if you get a tall or a grande or whatever. So why would any rational person purchase coffee from Starbucks if it's 5 times as expensive as a coffee from 7-Eleven? And when we looked at that, it really boils down to the experience. You know, some people in a taste test may argue that 7-Eleven coffee tastes better, but it comes down to the ultimate experience. When you walk into 7-Eleven to buy your coffee, it's a transaction. You walk in, you pay your 75 cents, you get your cup, and you leave. When you walk into Starbucks, it's an experience. It's warm. It's welcoming. It smells good. It's got nice, cushy chairs. You can sit down there and read the paper or meet with your colleagues or surf the internet, check your email. And that's why people go to Starbucks over and over. So when we first started our company, we had a catchy, flashy brand, college hunks hauling junk. We had bright, shiny trucks. We had cool logos. And people would call us for our services, and we were trying to charge a premium for our services. But quite honestly, we were not providing any service that was different from what anybody in a pickup truck or a moving van could provide. We were providing 7-Eleven experience with Starbucks prices. And you know, if you're going to provide that, you're going to be out of business very quickly. So we had to start examining our customer experience. We had a lot of sizzle with the brand, but we didn't have a lot of steak with the experience. And so we really got down to focusing on providing a customer experience that develops loyalty and community loyalty to allow our business to grow, to allow our business to flourish with repeat business, with referral business, with testimonials, with social media postings and recommendations. And that's what's allowed us to grow our business to the level that we have today. A really successful entrepreneur that I went to actually at an entrepreneurs organization event told me, this was one of the founders of Boston Market and one of the original franchisees of Kentucky Fried Chicken. So he's been around for quite some time. He said, you can't ride more than one bicycle at the same time. He actually used a different analogy. He said you can't sit on more than one toilet at the same time. But I thought this slide was a little more appropriate than a bunch of toilets. So how many of us as entrepreneurs, or how many of your students, or how many of you want to chase the next shiny idea or the next great thing that pops into our head, the next cool idea, and we end up being stretched a mile wide and only an inch deep, and really don't pursue that original idea or that original vision fully until it's fully vetted and tested and proven whether it's going to work or not. You know, Professor White mentioned that we've tried out these other concepts, the college boxes, packing boxes concept. And while it sounded like a good idea at the time, honestly, it was just a huge distraction from growing our core business. It was a huge distraction from growing our core hauling and moving operation. It was fun, it was flashy, it was a quirky idea. I think all of us as entrepreneurs suffer from some form of ADD in some form or another. It's just, you know, we like to, a quarter, you know, let's move on and forget about what we were doing here. So being the best at one thing, what can we as entrepreneurs, what can your students, when they embark on an entrepreneurial journey, be the best at in their businesses? And for us, we decided our focus was going to be on the company culture, building an amazing, fun company culture that empowers our students to learn and treat the trucks that they go out on every day as if it's their own small business, so they can have an entrepreneurial mindset working in that company. If you look at a company like Hotels.com, you know, they have horrible customer service as far as I'm concerned. If you try and get them on the phone to change a reservation or to cancel a reservation, it's like jumping through hoops. But what they're the best at is simply aggregating all the hotel prices from around the world. They're the largest aggregator of hotels from around the world. Whereas the Ritz-Carlton is the best at providing that customer experience, that customer service. So you can't be the best at everything. You can't pick 5 things that you're going to be the best at in your business. You have to really focus in on being the best at one thing. I honestly just wanted an excuse to put this slide up here. I thought it was funny. A question that comes up a lot when I'm interviewed by the media and those types of things is, can entrepreneurship be taught? Are entrepreneurs born or are entrepreneurs made? And I think you'll all agree, none of you would be here today if you didn't believe that entrepreneurship could be taught, and I agree wholeheartedly. At the same time, there's certain characteristics, risk tolerance, ability to persevere and discipline and determination and focus. There's certain characteristics that certainly make somebody more prone or prime to be successful when they embark on entrepreneurship. But, even if somebody's lazy and can't get themselves off the couch, can you teach them how to exercise? Absolutely you can. It's just a matter of whether they're going to get off the couch to do it. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, there's certain things that I think are most important that have made us successful, that have made the entrepreneurs that I've met along the way successful, and it's these 5 things. First and foremost, it's leadership. As an entrepreneur, you have to be able to lead your team, your customers, your community, and I think there's really 2 different forms of leadership. There's leadership by essentially dictating what needs to be done, and then there's visionary leadership. And the most effective, most successful entrepreneurs out there are those that lead with vision. Those that are able to communicate what the future is going to look like and then rally their team around them to pursue that vision by any stretch necessary. Number 2, this is something that I don't know if this is taking place in your programs or not, but sales. Sales is extremely important. If you're going to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to learn the best practices when it comes to sales. And I think sales has gotten sort of a negative connotation over the years, probably because of the old traditional mindset of these snake oil salesmen trying to sell something that nobody needs. But really, sales is not about selling. Sales is about helping. Sales is about building a relationship with somebody and uncovering a need that they have and then helping them by providing them with that need. When you're selling, you're doing something to somebody. When you're helping, you're doing something for somebody. And so ultimately, I think we need to help teach our young entrepreneurs, how is it that you can help your prospective clients or customers in the marketplace? Number 3 is the customer experience. In order to develop loyalty, even if you have a subscription-based service, you have to have a positive customer experience. Right now, there's no hiding behind a corporate veil in business. With social media, it used to be a bad experience, somebody would tell 10 people. Now a bad experience, they're going to tell thousands because they can post it on their Facebook, their Twitter, whatever the case. So there's no hiding behind the customer service experience. You have to be able to design the customer experience and provide a memorable experience. The reason I have a picture of the football player gasping for oxygen is because in a business, cash is oxygen. If you cannot manage cash, if you cannot manage the financial aspects of your business, you're going to be out of business. You're not going to be able to breathe. And any business that fails to be able to manage their cash is like a human being struggling to keep his head above water. There's nothing more painful than that experience. And then the 5th one I have on here is really operations, decision-making, problem-solving, making decisions on the fly, changing the course that you're on when needed. Just like last night, I told you my plan was to go home early, get a good night's sleep. It didn't work out that way, but here I am this morning to talk to you guys, and all it took was a few 5-hour energies, and I'm ready to roll. Some books that we didn't read in college, I'll be perfectly honest with you all. I didn't really take a passion in reading until after I graduated from college, until I found something that I was actually passionate in. And, these are some books that I think have really made an impact for me and my entrepreneurial journey. The first, like I told you at the beginning, I didn't know what an entrepreneur was till I graduated college. And when I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that was really a paradigm shift for me, that there was another path to owning your own business, to creating your own assets, to being your own boss, that I had never even been presented with in all of my years of education. The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber is kind of an entrepreneurial must-read. It's all about working on your business, not in your business, creating systems that allow your business to scale. And Purple Cow by Seth Godin is more about marketing. If you're driving down a country road and you see a field of brown cows and there's one purple cow sitting in that field, you're going to stop and take notice. And that purple cow has to be both the brand as well as the experience that's received, the emotional experience that's received from that brand. And ultimately, if all the cows are purple, you have to innovate and become a pink cow or an orange cow. So that really stood out in my mind. In our space, trucks and labor is really what we're in. Anybody can do it. So how the heck can we create a purple cow in a junk removal or moving industry where there's literally hundreds of thousands of competitors? Who here has read any of these books up here? Awesome. And who would agree that, there's definitely value to be gained from that? I agree 100%. So when Omar and I wrote Effortless Entrepreneur, obviously we know nothing is effortless about being an entrepreneur, but there was nothing that felt more effortless than that first time we quit our jobs and got out of the trucks and we were working on our own. We were passionate about it. We were excited about it. It was fun. So when we do break here, Jennifer in the back there, wave, is going to be selling the books just outside, and definitely pick it up for your students' sake. It was written from that perspective of somebody that's just graduated from college that, wants to have fun, wants to live life to its fullest, wants to enjoy life and that entrepreneurial roller coaster that we've been on so far. Everybody do me a favor real quick and pull your cell phone out of your pocket if you could. Left mine on the table. If you're fast with the cell phone, send me a text message with your email address, and I promise I'll send you the 10 business commandments that we included in Effortless Entrepreneur. If you're not handy with the text messages, just write down my email or my website here. I'm sure when we're done here, there's going to be a lot of people that have questions when we're doing the book signing. And rather than holding it up, you can send me a text or send me an email or send me a Facebook or a LinkedIn message, whatever the case may be. And I'll promise to respond to everybody with whatever your questions may be. I'll tell you one thing that I'm really passionate about right now is the entrepreneurial mission that you all stand for. And I have to thank each and every one of you, because if I had had one of you as my professors when I was in college, we'd probably be a lot further along than we are right now in our business. And right now, this country needs nothing more than to embrace this entrepreneurial revolution that's taking place. And I want to be able to share that experience and that lesson with as many people as I possibly can. So the thing that I'm going to close with to all of you today, it all starts with an idea. Every business starts with an idea. Every entrepreneur starts with an idea or a vision or an idea that turns into a vision. And for each one of you, I want to ask you, think about what is your vision for your classroom? What is your vision for your university? What is your vision for your students? What is the grand idea that you're going to impart and make an impact on or make a difference at your local college campus, in your community, in your classroom? And along with that, I've thought about it somewhat, and I know that, because you guys teach classes, I want to sort of share what some of the ideas I think would be beneficial to implement or at least touch upon in the classroom. Whoops. Take business plans to the next level. Take the competitions, the case studies, and the business plan competitions to the next level. As Professor White mentioned, we've done the past 3 years with the University of Tampa a case study competition, which has been extremely valuable for the students, extremely valuable for our business. But what I would love to see is on college campuses, spend the first 25% of the semester on the writing of the business plan or the development of the case study, and spend the remaining 2/3 or 75% of the semester actually taking action on that business plan, taking action on those case studies. I would love at midway through the semester to have the groups of students actually come into our office and start implementing the ideas that they put forth to us, or to have the students that wrote the business plan to start actually putting the steps in place that they can actually test out starting the business. What better time to try and fail than when you're in college and you have a safety net? There's so much planning and strategizing when you're in college, and then you get out into the real world, and the idea of actually taking that step into entrepreneurship is a little bit more daunting. It's a little bit more scary. There's a little bit more responsibility that all the students have once they're out of college. Who here has seen the show on ABC, Shark Tank? Awesome TV show. My business partner and I were actually on the very first episode of that show, pitching college boxes, packing boxes, believe it or not. But give your students an opportunity to practice pitching to investors, practice pitching to the bank, practice putting together loan applications for the bank. Help them foster an attitude of perseverance and success. Help them experience failure and embrace failure. Help them understand that it's not always easy. Help them figure out a way to start their business on a shoestring if they can't get money, because money's not easy to come by. And you're not always going to find investors or banks ready to loan you money. So if they can't get the investment, how are they going to start the business on a shoestring? How are they going to bootstrap that company from the beginning? Help them revise and repitch their concept if they can't get the initial investment. Don't squelch the passion of your students. Be sure to continue to embrace their creativity, encourage them to color outside the lines. We all know the story of Fred Smith from FedEx, who got a C on his senior paper, his business plan about FedEx. if he had listened to the professor that gave him that C, he would have never started that multi-billion-dollar operation. And so I think that we need to encourage our students, even if it's something that you don't think is feasible or reasonable or logical, if they're truly passionate about that idea, encourage them, help them create and fine-tune and foster that idea to make it a reality. And certainly, I've heard it a few times from some of the speakers up here on stage, create mentorship opportunities with local entrepreneurs and local alumni, because people that have been through that process, that experience that those students are going through, are going to be great ambassadors and supporters, and I certainly wouldn't be here where I am today if it wasn't for the support or help or assistance of other entrepreneurs. So the challenge that I'm going to leave you with today is, when you leave here, when you go home at the end of this weekend, when you've recovered from your Bourbon Street hangovers and everything else, what are you going to do next? What are going to be your steps? Because all of you as professors are encouraging your students of entrepreneurship to take action. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. Ideas are great. Ideas are great. But it's ultimately ideas that just fade away like sneezes. They might infect a few people around you, but they're going to fade away like sneezes. It's the people that take an idea and they put it into action that are the true difference makers in the world. It's the people that take the idea and make it a reality that are the ones that are going to turn around the economy, that are the ones that are going to add value to the world. And so I encourage all of you to take action on whatever idea it is that you may have taken from this meeting or from my presentation or from your networking with your colleagues. Take that idea and put it into action, because ultimately ideas really mean nothing unless action is taken. So thank you guys very much for being here. I think we have some time for questions. I appreciate you. So yeah, we do have time for, I think, about 10 minutes worth of questions, so please don't be shy. Nothing is too off limits, I don't think. And we got the microphone here if you want to use it, or you can just shout it out.
Nick, I want to hear a little more about how the foxes distracted the hunks, and when you decided that idea wasn't, when and how you decided that wasn't something you were going to move forward with. Because I think your premise is correct. Foxes can distract hunks, but also entrepreneurs are a bit ADD, and sometimes it's hard to herd those ideas.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how did we realize that foxes was a bad idea? Well, the foxes concept kind of started out as kind of like College Hunks did, just as a joke, sitting around the table drinking coffee or beer or whatever, and somebody threw out the name College Hunks Hauling Junk, and it was catchy. We thought, oh, that's a cool idea. Maybe Omar could go do that this summer. And the foxes was kind of the same thing, because we were trying to think of sort of the female counterpart of College Hunks Hauling Junk. And we never really anticipated launching it, but we kind of had that up in the sky as an idea. And then when the Shark Tank opportunity came about, we said, okay, well, this would be a great idea for us to kind of pursue the Foxes idea a little bit further, pitch it to some investors. If we get money for it, great. If not, we'll consider starting it on our own. And so we went on the Shark Tank. They ultimately did not invest because they wanted a percentage of our existing business, which we weren't ready to give up yet. And so when we didn't get the investment, we kind of put a little bit of money into the brand development. We created a website. We created some manuals and marketing materials and so forth. But we really just found that whether there's a business opportunity there or not, our core business was suffering. And it was probably a matter of 3 to 6 months that we wasted a few hours each day or each week trying to test this new venture that ultimately was preventing us from supporting our existing franchise owners, selling new franchises, creating new sales opportunities for our existing franchise owners. So we kind of put it back on the shelf for the time being. We actually had some girls in our call center that want to relaunch it now here in Tampa, or there in Tampa. But I told them that if they create it successfully, then they can have it pretty much. Yes, sir.
Nick, thanks for a great talk. I enjoyed it. You talk about this experience. I've never used your service. How are you the Starbucks of the hauling business, and how do you develop your people and your customer relationships that makes it a unique experience?
So that's a great question. Basically what we did is we tried to define each customer touch point that comes into contact with our business. So it starts with people seeing the trucks, people seeing our website, people seeing our employees out in the community, people calling to our call center, our team showing up at the house to perform the service. And we pretty much define in each of those touch points, first and foremost, what are the customer expectations when they call our service? So we made a list and we brainstormed with our team at each touch point, what are the customer expectations? The next question that we ask is, what are the most likely service defects that can occur? So that might be damage to the house, that might be showing up late, it might be forgetting to take something or taking something that they weren't supposed to take. So we identify the potential service defects. Then we talk about, well, what are the things that we have to do 100% of the time just to make sure those service defects don't occur? Pretty much just table stakes. The same things most service companies do to be in the game, which is, call the customer before the appointment to confirm the arrival window. Make sure that you price ahead of time to get approval for the price. Call the customer after the job to make sure the job's done well. And then the next step, the step that takes it to the Ritz-Carlton level or the Starbucks level is, what are the wow moments we can create when we're on the job? And with that, it's a little bit more gray area because sure, you can define certain wow moments that customers might not be expecting, a handwritten thank you note from the team that performed the move or the junk haul, having dog treats on the truck to give to the homeowner's pet when you're completing the job, little touches like taking their trash out, replacing their trash bag when the job's all said and done, little things that are what we would consider above and beyond. But really with us, it's creating a culture of wow that we can deliver to the customer. So celebrating wow moments every day during our team meetings, during our morning huddles, where each team member can talk about how did you wow yesterday? Who did you wow yesterday? What did you do to go above and beyond? What above and beyond opportunity are you going to go for today? And so really celebrating those types of activities and victories has created an environment where everybody understands that the customers are the lifeblood of our business, and if we don't, because we're a transactional business, not a subscription business, if we don't deliver on that brand promise, we're not going to be in business very long. So it's an ongoing just theme in our company of how do we continue to create that. And actually, that's one of the topics of our case study with University of Tampa this semester is how can we even take it up a further notch and not fall into this complacency as far as that's concerned.
You seem to have a real good grasp of what you need to know now. But looking back on your experience, is there something you wish you had known earlier? And I'm thinking, suppose there had been an entrepreneurial activity for you in high school, that you could have gotten some idea and begun thinking about these things earlier. What are the things you would have liked to have known sooner?
That's a great question. I think, for me, probably from a business perspective, I think that the most important thing would have been looking at businesses that have subscription components to them or recurring revenue components to them, just strictly from a business strategy standpoint. For us, we've embarked on this business model that's all transactional, so it makes it very difficult to scale each month in each franchise. And so I think having a recurring revenue component to the business, and we've actually identified some in our business model now, but having known that from the very beginning, I think we could have positioned things a little bit differently. But looking all the way back to high school or college, I think it's simple, basic things like sales, leadership, the idea or concept that you can create a business for yourself and you don't have to follow this traditional finance track or legal track or corporate track that my high school and college and parents and teachers and coaches had always kind of encouraged us to remain within. I think now there's kind of a new normal where entrepreneurship is a much more viable option given the state of the economy these past couple of years, given the sort of entrepreneurial trend that we're seeing out there, people starting businesses in lieu of getting professional degrees or what have you. So those are the types of things that I kind of wish I had an opportunity to learn about. And honestly, I wish I had known what an entrepreneur was. I know I've mentioned that a couple times, but like it never occurred to me that somebody that starts a junk hauling business is an entrepreneur. To me, an entrepreneur was somebody that starts Facebook or Google or some, Microsoft or some really high-tech concept that I could never even touch. And so I wish knowing that an entrepreneur is literally somebody, to me, an entrepreneur is somebody who creates value out of nothing or creates something out of nothing that adds value to those around them. And so I wish I had kind of known that and thought about it in those terms.
Hey, Nick. When you think about all the ways of encouraging entrepreneurs, one thing that's not talked about a lot is franchising, which maybe is lower risk, and if you're just starting out, maybe you're following a proven system. Do you think that for college students or just graduating or in school, that's a good path for them to think about if they get their feet wet, or is that kind of you're making a really big investment and you should wait to get more experience?
That's actually an interesting debate that's been raised to me, and I've been interviewed a few times about comparing buying a franchise versus going to graduate school or business school, and comparing the investment level of business school versus the investment level of buying a franchise, and having an income-producing asset after 2 years of owning the franchise versus having a degree at the end of graduating from business school, and I think arguments could be made for and against, and certainly there's no guarantee when you buy a franchise that it's going to be successful. But we do have some examples in our company of people that graduated from college, worked in the workforce for a very short period of time, or maybe they were laid off or had trouble getting into a graduate program, and through some support from friends and family were able to buy into our franchise as opposed to starting out on their own. And there's actually, I know, a very unique business model that's taking place over in Colorado that we're a part of, where they're actually having students work through franchise models while they're in undergrad, with the opportunity to actually own the franchise upon graduation outright if they're complete the program effectively. So I definitely think franchising is an interesting model. It's an interesting opportunity for folks who want to start their own business and don't want to go through the trial and error or headache of starting everything from scratch: the website, the truck, the marketing, or the equipment, the marketing material, and those types of things. It's not for everybody. It's just like anything. They have to do their due diligence and decide if the opportunity is right for them, the investment and the return on that investment is right for them. But I do think for people that want to start businesses and don't know where to start, everything's a model. Entrepreneurship is a model. The classes that you teach and the business plans that are written are all models, essentially. So franchising is no different. It's just a model of a specific brand or a specific service. Yes, sir.
Yes, good morning, Nick. That's an impressive success. I'm teaching strategy in California to undergrad and graduate, and I'm always curious to know if CEOs and top managers use the stuff that we teach. PEST model, SWOT analysis, resource-based view, alternative strategy. So can you tell us if you use them, and be honest, tell us the truth?
Well, yes and no. I was an economics major, so I didn't have as many of the principles that you're teaching taught to me when I was in college. My business partner, he was a business management and marketing major, so there were certainly more principles taught to him that are applicable and less theoretical to what we're doing. I think that what I've learned the most from, in my experience as an entrepreneur, has been more from books that specifically are intended for business owners, that talk about action items that can truly be implemented or put in place into the business. And so what I mean by that is an example of a book we read was a book called Mastering the Rockefeller Habits. And it talked all about creating a one-page strategic plan that is both done quarterly and annually with your team. It talked about doing morning huddles where you look at the metrics from the day before and the numbers from the day before, identifying what your key performance indicators are in your business so you kind of have a finger on the pulse of your business. It talks about creating your long-term vision, your BHAG, like Jim Collins calls it, your big, hairy, audacious goal for the business. Those are the types of things that have had the biggest impact in the way we run our business, and they certainly have components of the SWOT analysis that's taught or the business planning that's taught. And so I think the more that we can get into real applicable concepts and apply them, whether it's even through simulations or through examples of case studies, the better. When I just remember when I was in college and I was reading out of a textbook, it was like I couldn't apply what I was learning to anything that I could actually hold or touch or see or feel. So I think and that may just have been my learning technique, but that's kind of the way I look at it.